Well, hey, everybody. It's Terri Murphy here. We are so excited to be presenting today, and I'm excited to be your host for today's RISMedia Agents Webinar Series, and excited to have you here. So these learning opportunities would not be possible if it weren't for RISMedia. We are always grateful to them and their content solutions, and today we've got a great program set up for you. It is New Year, New Business. Chart a course to 100 transactions in 2016. And you know, there are a lot of things that are happening today, and as an author and a real estate coach with your expert presenter, Verl Workman, the biggest challenges we see with brokers and owners and agents is how to keep them on track to get real results in their goals for real measurable profitability. So you have to stay until the end because we've got lots of free gifts for you. And today's webinar is brought to you by Homes.com is our sponsor, and Verl Workman is going to be our presenter. We're going to hear from Joe, the national speaker and regional director for Homes, in just a minute. Let me share with you a little bit about Verl. Verl's been one of the most recognized and respected names in professional sales training for nearly 30 years, and I've known him a long time. And in that time, he's delivered hundreds of truly powerful seminars and keynote addresses and other motivational messages to thousands of real estate sales professionals worldwide. Now, more importantly, Verl's expertise and thought leadership in all aspects of sales and marketing and management, and especially technology, where Joe and Homes.com comes in. They've helped our participants really expand their potential and produce explosive results. And like all good teachers and coaches, Verl brings this contagious energy. Everybody loves Verl. To every seminar, session, or an event, he has a dynamic approach and an absolutely unquenchable passion to infuse every encounter with a sense of discovery that makes learning easy. He is the founder and CEO of Workman Success Systems. He's the past president of Corcoran Consulting and Coaching. He's the past president of RISMedia's Top 5 in Real Estate Network, co-founder of Pinnacle Quest. He's been in the coaching business a long time. Here's a good one. He's the co-founder of Automation Plus, which was acquired by Homes.com way back in 1999. But here is a key that I think is important if you're on this call. He's a successful active real estate agent and business owner, and that is important. And Joe, Verl has been an enormous support to Homes.com in that regard, and I'd sure like to have Joe come on as the regional director. Tell us a little bit about what specificity and how Homes.com is going to help us as we plan 2016 for better results.
Well, thank you, Terri. This is actually a great time to have a webinar, because as we know, December is a lot of time where people are going and they're planning their strategy for next year. And the top producing agents, they don't wait till January to plan their strategy. They're doing it right now. And so what they're doing is, first of all, putting together their business plans, but also looking at different ways how they're going to generate leads, especially for all the cooped up business. People are kind of like right now holding off, and in January we're going to see that explosion take place. And so there's two products from Homes.com that can help people with another avenue of lead generation sources, as you see on the screen. One is called Local Connect, and the other is called Local Ads. These are both relatively new products that came out in 2015. Local Connect is marketed by zip code. So if you want to show up on other people's listings and generate buyer leads, you'll get them that way. So you've probably seen that before in other products. But also what's unique to it is seller leads. If someone goes on Homes.com and wants to find out the value of their home, and you happen to own that zip code, you'll get seller leads. So it's great for people who want to get another avenue of lead generation, but also to expand, if they want to expand into a different market. Now, the Local Ads is sold by city, not zip code. This is a product that just came out like 2 months ago, and it's sold by city. And this is for broker owners or top producing agents with more than 4 listings, because now your listings are just one click away from Google. And when they click on that, they'll see your listings first on a carousel. It's a great opportunity to not only get maximum exposure for your listings, but also to generate leads. So great products there, and definitely a great opportunity for agents and brokers.
Well, I know that Verl's going to have some great ways for us to demonstrate the systems and the tools that we need. And Verl, just a couple of housekeeping rules before we get going. Throughout the call, we'll be recording this call, and our listeners will be muted, so you won't be able to speak. We will, just to keep the quality really good. Now, RISMedia will send you a link, so if you have a specific question or you want more information, use the dashboard on the GoToMeeting platform here, and go to the questions area and post your questions. We got Miriam on the call. She's incredible. She's going to be helping us address the questions, and feel free to be real interactive and share with us your comments. And again, I want you to stay till the end. Verl has several great gifts, and he's going to tell us why planning now is so important. Verl, I can't wait to get you to get going on this. Tell us how we can have 100 transactions a year. Let's go now.
Well, first of all, Terri, thank you, and thank you, RISMedia, for inviting me to actually be the guest on the call today. I'm honored to be one of the guests and to be able to share some ideas of how we're helping agents, do 100 transactions, 200 transactions, 300 transactions a year. And it all begins by how you think about your business. Before I get into that, I just want to let Joe know how much we appreciate the support of Homes.com in all of these webinars. Homes.com is a good friend of the industry and has been a great partner of mine over the years, and we appreciate all the things you do for our agents and the teams that we support as well. So, Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You betcha. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the entrepreneur mindset. And as entrepreneurs, we all fit into this different kind of way of thinking. And I'm going to tell you that, just the fact that you're an entrepreneur, 99.95% of you are resistant to structure. So the whole concept of having somebody tell you what to do and how to do it is why you're an entrepreneur in the first place. 80% of all entrepreneurs are resistant to authority, and 97% are constantly, obsessively overthinking or thinking about something else. In order to make this hour valuable for each one of you that have blocked time today, I'm going to ask you to do the thing that's not natural. I'm going to ask you to not constantly and obsessively think about other things. I'm going to ask you to put down the barriers that resist the authority or the coach in me that wants to share with you ideas and concepts that will help you be successful. And I want you to resist structure, because I want you to stop resisting structure, because I'm going to share with you some things that if we add some structure, and I get you to think differently about your activities and the things you do in a day, that you'll be able to not only list 100 houses a year, sell 100 houses a year, but you'll be able to live your life at a much higher level. The difference between the agents that are making $1 million a year and the agents that are making $25,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a year isn't always the fact that one is so much better than the other. Oftentimes, it's just that one chooses different activities to focus on during the day. And what I'd like to do to explore with you today is, what are the activities that the elite focus on? What are the things that they do with their day as opposed to the average? And so I'm going to ask you to pull some barriers down and get out of, like the great Howard Brinton used to say, Terri, and you remember our good friend Howard, he said, get out of judgment and get into curiosity. And so let's be curious at how people think and act differently. And so the first concept I want to talk about today is the concept of the CEO mindset. And the CEO mindset looks at their business as a business instead of creating a job for themselves. Most real estate agents create jobs for themselves, which mean basically that they do enough work in order to pay the bills that they have at their home. They generate enough income to crack their nut each month, as opposed to building a real business that gives them revenue and income way beyond their needs. And in order to think like a CEO, you have to first ask yourself the question, should I be doing the task that I'm doing each day? And how can I leverage my most valuable asset, my time, so that I can focus my efforts on the things that generate the highest return on my time investment? And I could spend the entire hour on this slide just talking about how to leverage your time. And I'm going to give you some tips, some tools, and some techniques and strategies that we use to help people think, act, and behave like the true CEO of their business. If I were to do a poll right now, I would ask everybody, how many of you have written a complete detailed business plan for 2016? Terri, what do you think my response would be? What percent of the attendees on today's webinar do you think have business plans written?
I hate to say this, Verl, because it sounds so negative, but I doubt that 10% have a business plan.
Yeah, I think 10% is probably a good number. What do you think, Joe? What do you think? How many agents do you think already have their business plans for 2016 done?
Oh, man, I'm going to say 20%.
20%. Faith in the industry. I love that optimism. I will tell you that, I was just at a conference and I'm trying to think of where I was last week. I think it was Wisconsin Association of Realtors, and I asked the group how many of you have a written strategic business plan for 2016, and the number was less than 10%. And so what I found is that most people don't have a plan. And I can tell you that if I were to give you all of these great ideas, and I give you all of these wonderful techniques and tools and dialogues and strategies to build a highly productive business, but you don't actually know what it is you want to accomplish, how good are those tools? How good are those strategies? If I don't have a plan to execute those strategies, what's the value of all this information?
Zero.
That's right. You've heard it said, Terry, in one of my favorite quotes, I don't even know who said it, was, "For a ship bound for no harbor, no wind is favorable."
There you go.
And so I'm going to encourage, that's right, I'm going to encourage everybody to build your business plan. I actually want business plans done by the end of October for 2016. So you're already 2 months late, because the activities that you focus on today aren't going to pay you for 90 days from now. So even in the best case scenario, if you hurry and work on your business plan right now, you're talking about March or April before you start seeing the revenue that's being generated by the business plan you're building at the end of December, early January. And so I'm going to include, I'll give you a link where you can download a business plan. I'll just give you the business plan we use with our coaching clients. You can download at the end. And I'm not going to take you through all of the business plan, but I'm going to take you through a couple of really important slides. Joe, have you ever done a SWOT analysis before?
Yeah, actually, they call me at work. They call me the king of SWOT analysis, because with my MBA training, we did is SWOT analysis on everything during my MBA schooling. So, absolutely.
Yeah, that's actually where I first heard about it, was someone else that had gone to MBA school, and they taught me about SWOT analysis. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The top line, where it says SW, if you were to write a word next to it, would be internal. What are your internal strengths? And what are your internal weaknesses? And then under opportunities and threats, I would write down in that bottom left corner, I would write external. What are the opportunities you're currently not taking advantage of? And what are the things that have the ability to cause harm to your business, or the threats to your business that you don't necessarily have the ability to control, but you should be aware of? And in a real estate agent's business, I always begin with a SWOT analysis, because, when I go through a SWOT analysis, and we can kind of play with this a little bit, but a SWOT is, what are your strengths? What are things you're great at? I'm a great negotiator. I have financial resources. I have got experience in the business. I have a strong database. I've got homes.com that's generating tons of leads. So those are all strengths that I have in my business. And then I'm going to ask, what are your weaknesses? Weaknesses might be, I'll give you my personal weaknesses: attention to detail. I hate the paperwork. ADD. I chase the shiny objects. So I look at all of my weaknesses. I'm going to put them down there. And then I'm going to say something like, okay, what are the opportunities you're currently not taking advantage of? And this is a big list. And so a lot of people say that, I can never do 100 houses a year because I just don't get that many leads. And the answer is, that is not true. We can scale your business to any level if you take the time to identify the opportunities. Some of the opportunities are out there have a cost per lead generation, and others are absolutely free. So opportunities are my database. I don't really work my database. Another opportunity might be for sale by owners and expireds, a geographic farm, door knocking. I could work with probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, new home construction. The list goes on and on. I think one time we came up with about 60 different ways of generating leads in real estate. There's a lot. So what I want you to do in your SWOT analysis on the opportunity side is make a list of all of the opportunities that you're currently not taking advantage of, and write them all down. Now, does that mean I'm going to have you do them all?
Not necessarily, but at least you be aware of them.
That's right. Matter of fact, I'm only going to let you pick 4. And then, of course, threats are things that you need to be aware of, but you can't control. Joe, what would you list as some of the threats to a real estate agent that they can't control, but they should be aware of in their business?
Well, for instance, if you have another agent that's moving into their farm, that would be one example of a potential threat. If somebody has like a specialty, or like you have a new real estate office that opens up across the street from yours, there's now more agents in the pool there, so that could definitely be a threat to one's business.
Those are great.
I got a question for you, Verl. So you ever find in your work with agents who have a hard time identifying weaknesses? They might not even think they're weaknesses, but they take somebody else to really identify them for them?
Yeah, a lot of times actually when we do our business plans with our coaching clients, I have them do one on themselves, and then they have to get 3 other people, at least 3 or 4 other people that know them well, to do a SWOT analysis on them so that you can see how other people perceive you. And the short answer to this is, the best way to find out what your weaknesses are is just ask your spouse. They'll point them out.
That's a good one.
My wife's got a list, and she has no problem telling you what it is. Always wants to have fun, hates mowing the lawn. Those would be on my weaknesses list. And so, ask your spouse. And so I get other people who I trust their judgment, I trust their opinion to do a SWOT analysis on me, and it's really insightful. So now I've got the SWOT analysis done, and we've understood what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats are. If your weaknesses are attention to detail, not tech savvy, not a high analytical. Some other people might say too much technology as a weakness. Other people might say I overanalyze as a weakness. Those are legitimate weaknesses. People say, well, what do I do with my weaknesses? And this is probably where I differ from a lot of people that do SWOT analysis, is with your weaknesses, a lot of people say, well, then you need to focus on those. You need to take training. You need to make them become your strengths. And my response is, why? You're already bad at it. Why focus on it? I think you should delegate those things or hire people who have strengths where you're weak. And then so you can focus on the things that you're really good at and let somebody else who loves the details on your team focus on those areas of business. All right, so the next thing you do when we're building your business plan is I want you to look 5 years out. Once you've done your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you've identified a whole bunch of opportunities that are there, then I'm going to ask you, okay, give me a broad brush strokes of what you want your business to look like 5 years from now. Where's the harbor? Where do you want to be? I had a gentleman on an interview on a call I did today said, within 5 years, I want to be able to work 24/7. I love that. I said, what does that mean? He says, well, I want to work 7 months a year. And I love that. I want to work 7 of the months a year. What was the 24? It was 24, I can't remember. Yeah, 24 hours a week, 7 months a year. That was his 24/7. I'm going to work 24 hours a week, 7 months out of the year, and then I'm going to play the rest of the time. What do you want 5 years from now? So 5 years from now, give me some broad brush strokes. I want to have X number of dollars in the bank. I want my kids to go to private school. I want to be able to have 3 buyers agents. I want my business to be able to function when I'm not there. A year from now, what has to be going on in your business in order to be able to accomplish your 5-year goal? And so give me a kind of a 1 year from now broad brush stroke. And then 6 months from now, what has to be going on in order for me to hit my 1-year goal? And we break it down into the ridiculous with numbers in a more detailed aspects of the business plan that I'll provide you. The next thing we do is we do what's called a goal achievement system. And the goal achievement system is something that I've developed over the years. And you got to know that I'm a student of greatness. I love to study what other people who have come before me have done to achieve excellence, and I've taken bits and pieces of all of these experts to create my own system. And so I'll set a goal, and the goal might be to make $100,000 or $1 million, whatever your number is. I challenge you that whatever you did in 2015, your goal in 2016 should be to double. You think that freaks anybody out?
I think it freaks everybody out. And I remember the first time somebody told me that. But it's that belief factor that gets you there.
Right. And the other question I'm going to ask is, how would your behavior change if you didn't get paid any money in 2016 unless you doubled your 2015 production? What would you do every day? Would it change? I bet you'd prospect every day. I'll bet you'd make sure you wouldn't spend your time doing fake work and working on things that didn't generate real revenue. So we set the goal of $150,000, and let's say my goal is $150,000. And then I'm going to ask the why question. So why is that number so important to you? What's the core motivating value, the thing that gets you up in the morning that makes you do the hard task? Why? Why $150,000? And so I want to know your real why, a part of your business plan. And then I asked you what your excuses for failure are going to be. So at the end of the year, Joe, when your salespeople don't hit their goals, I want to know before we even start what they're going to give me as excuses for failure. Well, realtors didn't want to spend any money, or I didn't make enough presentations, or the wrong president got elected, or interest rates went up. We have all these excuses for failure. And then one by one, I'm going to ask them to create a resolve for each one of those excuses for failure so they can't use it. Now, what do you think is going to happen to your sales team if we eliminate all of their excuses for failure before the year even begins?
They're going to be more productive. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They'll be more productive, and they're going to have a much higher level of success. And then we build an action plan, and we build a detailed action plan of how we're going to accomplish that. I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like in detail here in just a second. The next thing I want you to recognize is that real estate agents have a tendency to work on too many things, and rather than being masters at none, you know, a jack of all trades but masters of none, I want you to look at your opportunity sheet and I want you to give me 4 pillars of income. There's a lot of coaches and there's a lot of trainers out there that train a very specific pillar. For example, you know, one coach might say, work with only referrals. I only want you to work with referrals. We're going to build out your referral business. And then I have agents that will tell me, well, I get 90% of my business from referrals. Well, when an agent says to me, I get 90% of my business from referrals, then immediately my response is, that means you're leaving an enormous amount of money on the table, because I don't believe that any more than 25% of your income should be in one pillar. And so if your sphere of influence or your past clients or referrals is in the center of your target, that means we need to build out 3 other pillars, and each one of those pillars has to be able to generate enough revenue to accomplish 100% of your income goal. Now, I want to make sure you understood what I just said. Each one of the pillars has to have an action plan associated with it to generate 100% of your income goals. That means I need more than one city, Joe, or I might need more than 2 or 3 zip codes in order to generate the leads that are necessary for me to hit 100% of my $150,000 income goal. And I'm going to go after homes.com as if that's the only pillar I'm going to work. But then I'm going to work my for sale by owner and expired pillar just the same way, and I'm going to build a plan that allows me to generate $150,000 of my income out of for sale by owners and expireds, and I'm going to work my sphere of influence and my geographic farm exactly the same way. So I've got 4 pillars, each one with the goal of hitting 100% of my income out of it. Now, what do you think my chance of hitting $150,000 of income is if I generate literally 100% of each of my goal in each one of my 4 pillars?
Well, clearly you're going to have way more money to have to deal with. You know, you're just going to get swamped with more money because it's obviously you've got multiple sources of income.
Yeah, that's right. So the bottom line is what happens is I end up exceeding my goals, and that's how we think strategically about our business plan. The other thing, a part of your business plan is it's not all about work. You know, if I told you you had to double your income this year over last year, but you couldn't do it by working more hours, that would freak everybody out as well. Because I'm a big believer in having balance, and you need to have balance in your family, faith, friends, fun, and fitness if you want them to have the most impact on your finances. And so you have to have personal objectives and spiritual and family and social things in order to have balance. Because if you're out of balance, what happens is your business will succeed at the expense of your family. And I'm a firm believer that no other success can compensate for failure in the home. And so we have to have great balance. I don't get up every day and hope I get to sell another house. I get up every day and I think to myself, how can I get through all of my business tasks so that I can go home and hang out with my kids? I live to be with my family. I don't live to sell houses. Selling houses is a means so that I can provide a great experience for my family and opportunities for my children. That's why I work. Okay, so now let's go down to the last piece, and then we create an action plan worksheet for each one of the goals. So I gave you the goal achievement system, which was set a goal, give me the real why behind the goal, create the excuses for failure, get a resolve for each, and then the last phase of the plan is to create an action plan worksheet on each one of the goals. And I have each of my clients give me a minimum of 5 business and 5 personal goals that has to be in writing, and then they have to create a budget that goes along with it. Stephen Covey says that the 2 reasons businesses fail is number 1 is undercapitalization, and the second is the lack of a plan. And if we know that that's why businesses fail, then we've got to eliminate those excuses for failure by creating a detailed action plan. Now, I would like to take your thought process to a whole different level when it comes to the execution of an action plan. What you're looking at on my screen right here is what's called the Agile. It's called an Agile process. Now, in software development, they use Agile for software developers, and we've taken the Agile thought process and we've dumbed it down for real estate. And what this basically is a list of this. Now, this is a private client, Anthony Margulies, in Pacific Palisades, California. Anthony has a phenomenal business, generates about, I think he'll hit over 150 million this year, with the goal of going to 300 next year. So not a bad client. He's doing a great business. And what makes Anthony unique is his high attention to detail. And so we sat down and we said, okay, what is it you want to accomplish in the next 12 months? We created what's called a project backlog. So what you're looking at my screen right here is an idea backlog of all the things that he wants to do this year. Now, how do you know what to focus on? Where does prioritization happen? On the left-hand column, we've given everything a number. So each one of those items has a number. And we might start with the number 500 or 600, and then we go to, and then I say, is this higher or lower than the next task? Is this higher or lower than the next task? And then I sort highest to lowest, and it puts them in order. What you're seeing there on the left-hand column that says sprint date is once we've decided we're going to actually take a project and work on it, it becomes a sprint. And this is what a sprint looks like. So on the bottom of the Agile Project Manager, each one of those tasks has its own tab. So if this is hiring an admin or a client care coordinator, here's all the tasks that had to be done in order to hire that admin. And now you can see that 100% of the tasks are done. We finished them in the prior they were done. Who on the team were they assigned to? And you'll notice that the blood drive going after business managers, hiring buyers agents, creating collapsible signs, what conferences we're going to attend, all of those projects that are on the list of things to do for this client are now broken down into individual activities and who's going to do those activities. And this is how we get a high level of productivity out of an individual, as opposed to focusing on whichever thing happens to be making the most noise at the moment. And so we take your business plan, put it into a project manager, organize it in an agile process, and then we take the highest priority thing and do it first, then the second highest thing, and then the third highest thing. And by putting a system to our business plan, it allows us to have execution at a much higher level. Joe, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, that looks really good. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of years of doing it the hard way. And all of these years, we've started to think a little bit differently about how we help these teams be successful. One of my favorite authors is Og Mandino, and anybody in sales has read the book How to Become the Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And Og Mandino tells a story of the 10 scrolls. And in the first scroll, he says, "Today I began a new life. Today I shed my old skin, which has long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today I am born anew. In my birthplace there is a vineyard where there's fruit for all." And what he's saying is that today I can start fresh. Just like the new year is so cool because it allows us to take all of our baggage and all of our history and all the things that have held us back and allows us to just shed it. I'm just going to put it aside and I'm going to start fresh. And today I'm going to say, you know what? It's a new ball game. There's a new vineyard. I'm going to start fresh. And later on in this first scroll, he says that good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits unlock the door to failure. Thus, the first law I will follow is I will form good habits and become their slave. So going back to Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World, if you want to get to the place where you're doing 100 transactions a year, you have to form habits that will get you to that end. We always track results. How many sales did we have? And what I'm going to teach you is that I don't want you to celebrate results, but I want you to celebrate the activities that actually generate the results. For example, I'm going to say that if you're not doing 100 transactions a year, you're probably not prospecting enough. So prospect 2 to 3 hours a day. Use a success habits tracker. I'll show you an example of that next. You need to learn how to time block. We use a system that's a Google Drive spreadsheet that we call My Perfect Week Schedule, where we teach you how to time block. Do daily huddles so you have an accountability partner to make sure that you inspect what you expect and you're actually doing the things that you know will create a predictable result. Here's an example of the Daily Success Habits Tracker. Now, so I'll leave this on the screen for me so you can see what I'm doing. What happens is at the top is, and by the way, I got this from a great agent in Texas, Ashton Gustafson. And Ashton is a high producer, young millennial who is just killing it in real estate. And he shared with me some of his success habits, and I asked him if I could use that, and we kind of expanded on it and created a different idea, kind of a different form with it. This is actually a fillable PDF. And so every day you get up and you make a commitment that you're not going to go home at night unless you get your 61 points. And the only way to get your 61 points is to do money-making activities. Every time you make a prospecting call, it's a point. A follow-up email on a prospect is a point. Handwritten notes, 5 points. You get a point for each one of those. If you show 2 houses to a client, 10 points. You write an offer, 10 points. You go on a listing appointment, 10 points. Bottom line is that the higher value that money-making activity, the more points associated with it. And if you don't have any listing appointments you're going on and you're not working with any buyers, then you make a commitment to get all of your points through prospecting. But you don't go home until you hit your 61 points. And then we track what happens as a result of each of those things. And then every day you put those into the system, and it totals it up, and you have whoever you're answering to, whether it's a coach or whether it's your sales manager or whether it's your team leader, you've got someone holding you accountable to your 61 points. Terry, what have you seen in working with agents that actually follow the 61 points? What kind of results do they get?
It is so exciting, Verl, because what happens is that they start to see a measurement for their activity, and they don't realize that sometimes they miss the mark because they didn't give it the credibility that it needed. So, you typically, an agent will make 2 or 3 phone calls a day. Well, if they make 6 to 10, they see measurement. If they see that they sent out 5 notes at the end of the week, they've got 35 notes that went out. Multiply that times 4.3. They see the measurement and the investment of their time paying off in profitability. It is the most exciting form I have ever worked with.
What happens is that when you do the right things every single day and you do them consistently for enough time that it begins to form a habit, you replace some of your current habits with better habits. And that's the key to taking it to the next level. The second thing is you must have systems for everything. Systems for lead generation, systems for incubation, systems for client relationship management, systems. I'm telling you, systems first, assistance second. I don't think that we should ever. The reason we have a tendency to not get much done today, I don't know. Does anybody on the call suffer from this? I call it the busy day, nothing accomplished syndrome. It's when you feel like you're going a million miles an hour. At the end of the day, you come home and you sit in that overstuffed chair, and your loving spouse says, "So what'd you do today?" And you're left to ask yourself the question, what the heck did I do today? Because what you really did was absolutely nothing that moved you closer to accomplishing your goals. And as a result of not doing those activities that moved you closer to your goals, what happens is you feel frustrated, tired, and you're on the short run to becoming burned out in real estate. So we have to have systems, and we have to follow systems. That's why that Agile process is so critical. Here's an example of one of my clients. This is Christy Buck. She's actually been one of our guests on a RISMedia call. And when Christy hired me, she was making about $250,000. She wanted to go to $350,000. The very next year, we didn't go to $350,000, but we went to $720,000. In 2014 was the first year she made $1 million. In 2015, she did she may even beat 1.6. She was at 1.6 on our last coaching call. $1.6 million, and she's reduced the number of hours she works. So instead of working 7 days a week and never having time to stop and be a mom, Christy will tell you she now works 5 days a week, half a day on Friday. She no longer works on Saturdays or Sunday, and she doesn't work in the evening. What's happened with Christy is she's changed the way she thinks about her business. And I asked Christy, I said, Christy, what would you say would be your, what are the keys to success? What are the things that have made the biggest difference in getting from, selling 40 transactions a year to selling over 200 transactions a year, which is what she did this year. And this is what Christy says. She says the first thing is hiring the right assistant. Samantha has been a godsend. Samantha is her exact opposite on a DISC profile. Following proven systems for everything, including using our business plan, lead tracking, contact management, and transaction processing. building her rock solid database in Top Producer, hiring talented buyer's agents and training them within the Buyer Agent Mastery Program. Christy focusing 100% of her efforts on what she does the best, and that's listing more properties, having the right compensation plan for profitability, a higher level of client care and support to her customers, great marketing systems and strategies, incredible coaching. All of those things have played a big difference in her going from 40 transactions to over 200 transactions. And if you're looking to do that, then look at this list and then ask yourself, okay, what are the things that I do well on this list, and what are the areas that I need to add to my business? And I think you'll find there are several areas that you could probably add to your business if you want to go to that next level. So I'll spend just a second on understanding the difference between lead generation, lead incubation, and client relationship management. Lead generation, I'm going to use Homes.com as an example. And Joe, Joe and I didn't practice this. I'm going to wing it and hope that we get the right answers. Joe, are you okay with that?
Sure, no problem.
All right. Lead generation, Homes.com has several lead generation systems. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yep.
So I can generate organic leads with my Homes.com site. I can pay for leads if I want to do leads that the best domain in real estate generates, being Homes.com. When a lead comes in, we have automated back office with a series of automated emails that will go out. Plus, we teach the agents they should quickly call if they leave a phone number. But we have a lead incubation process that incubates that client. And then the last thing, so is that a yes, Joe?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, like of course. And then the last thing is once the client comes in, we want to once we actually have a conversation with that client and we are engaged with them, we want to manage them at a higher level than just a drip campaign. We actually want to create the relationship with them, and oftentimes we'll move into our CRM or apply different tools. What most companies do is, and I'm not saying most companies, what most real estate agents do is they get lead generation and they call the client or they email, and if they don't hear back from them, then they're off, into the sunset, never to be heard from again. And a client knows when they're on an automated follow-up campaign that's not personalized. And so, Joe, I'm going to share with you something. I hired a guy last year to come in and help me write a series of emails to increase our conversion rates with internet leads that get generated. This gentleman's name was Tom Collins, who built a $100 million internet sales business, internet coaching business. And I said to Tom, I said, this is what happens is we generate leads from Homes.com, and I want to have a higher conversion rate. And so this is the exact series of emails that we send, and it requires human interaction. We don't just launch an auto campaign. So what happens is the first letter says, thanks for stopping by my website to view some properties. We get a tremendous amount of people stopping by. We want to make sure we respect your privacy as well as your timing. Would you mind simply replying to this message and let me know if A, you're ready to start looking at houses right now, B, you're just browsing, you'll be ready in 30 to 90 days, or C, you just want to see what's on the market and you're more than 90 days to do anything. Also, if you'd like some information from time to time. As a thank you for stopping by, I'd also like to give you a free gift, and it could be a score report or latest market snapshot or whatever I want to give them. All right, what happens as a result of this is it's called a double opt-in, and I'm encouraging that buyer on the other side to tell me one more time that it's okay if I follow up, and what level they are. Are they an A lead, a B lead, or a C lead? The second letter says, just want to touch base with you, invite you to become one of my raving fans. Oh, by the way, let me go back to the first one for a second. I want you to notice the title. What's the title in this one, Joe?
7-day indoctrination power emails.
Right, and then the subject line is, will you do me a favor?
I like that, yeah.
And I want you to remember, because if I ask you to do me a favor, you're a good guy. You're likely to respond, say, I'll do you a favor. What can I do for you? And that's how most people respond to this email. The second one says raving fans. And it says, I want to touch base, invite you to become one of my raving fans. Here's some examples of what a raving fan is. And when I provide you with a great level of service, you'll become a raving fan. As always, no cost or obligation. Sincerely, Verl Workman. Don't forget to download the free gift. The third email says, here's some free information about Cottonwood Heights. Now, this is where it gets personal. So now I'm able to go in and I'm able to look in the back office to see where my client's looking for houses, right? And I can tell you if they've been looking in the Cottonwood Heights area. So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull some recent solds and I'm going to attach them to this email and say, hey, I was looking through some of your most recent home searches and I can see you've been looking in and around the Cottonwood Heights area. I had a few minutes this afternoon. I pulled some recent sales for you to compare with what you see currently listed. I hope this information is helpful to you in your search. Is there any other area you'd like to have recent sales from? Once again, I'm asking a question that encourages engagement. and let me know if you have any questions. As always, no cost or obligation. Now, there's 7 of these emails, and I'm not going to go through all of them with you, but they each have a very specific purpose. Now, the last one is, who do you know? I ask them for referrals during the incubation process, which is brilliant. And we get people saying, I'm not ready right now, but my cousin's ready. And then I'm going to show you some responses. Now, here's the last email. They get 1 email for 7 days, 1 a day for 7 days. And the last email, it says, hey, Joe, I just want to know if the information I sent has been helpful to you. Over the past week, I've sent you a free gift, a few raving fans, some neighborhood information about Cottonwood Heights in the area you're looking, some school and community information, some recent sold properties, a few other tips, and also information about my 2 best lenders. I just want to touch base real quick and let you know that I'm not going to be sending you daily messages going forward. However, from time to time, I'd like to reach out to you with some valuable information, keep in touch with you until you get closer to moving. Once again, I'm going to ask a really powerful question. This should get you started. Is there anything else you feel you need right now? I'm looking forward to working with you, and I want you to know that I'm here if you need me. Now, let me show you some responses from clients. This is all about conversion. Now, first of all, I want you to look at Joe, what do you see as the subject line of this email? It's a responding to what email?
Will you do me a favor?
Right. They say, look, it says we're targeting for a house in the next 30 to 60 days. We've identified a house that we want to purchase, and I have my conditional approval letter. Allow me to buy the house right now before having to sell my current house. We'd like to tour the house and make an offer ASAP. Could be as early as tomorrow, depending on your schedule. Who wants that lead?
Everybody.
Right? Here's another one. This one's responding to which email, Joe?
Have we been helpful?
Right, have we been helpful? And he says, yeah, thanks so much for all the information. Yes, I want to continue receiving updates. Who doesn't want a client that wants to continue receiving updates? He says, I'm moving to Houston in 2017, and this is my information. Here's another one responding to, will you do me a favor? Look how they responded. Ready when?
Now.
Yeah, ready now. Here's another one responding. This one says, will you do me a favor? Definitely an A, which means they're ready to go right now. So it's not just a matter of putting them on an auto campaign, it's a matter of putting a system in place that allows us to have a higher level of conversion. And so we've reached out, we've helped people, we've asked experts in the outside of real estate to help us craft better communication so that we can increase our conversion rates. This is one that we just listed a house as a result of will you do me a favor email. They're responding and communicating in the will you do me a favor email series. And there's the client saying that, I'm putting my house on the market and we've decided to choose you. All as a result of sending a series of emails. Remember when I said systems? It's not just systems, it's having the right systems and then following those systems to an effective close. Joe, before I go any further, do you have any questions or comments on that series of emails?
Yeah, I liked it. There were some really good emails on there. I liked the one when you were sending the information, because one of the things that to the Homes.com customers out there, they all get the dashboard called Homes Connect. It's a CRM backend system, and one of the upgraded apps that are available is an app called Neighborhood Envoy. So one of the best practices that a lot of the agents do is when they get information requesting property information for a lead, in addition to sending them the lead, a nice follow-up is sending them the neighborhood demographic information. Hey, here's some information we thought might be helpful based on the area of the property that you inquired about. It tells them all this great information on there, and they can actually pop in up to 4. So when you ask that question in the email saying, hey, if you would like me to do more of these, or get you more information about other cities or areas, I can do that. You can actually do up to 4 per report you send out. So just another thing I threw out there because that just kind of jogged my memory when I saw that email. That was very, very good. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm asking the question, and you're providing the tool to automate the process, which I love.
Absolutely.
All right. So Cleve Gaddis is one of our clients and also one of my coaches in Atlanta, Georgia. Will do about $1.8 million this year. And Cleve said something on a webinar when I interviewed him. He said, if you're closing more than 85% of listing appointments, then you're not going on enough appointments. I love that. What he's and then in a private conversation, he says, I don't even get that many. He says, if you're closing 80 or 90% of your listings, you're only going on listing presentations with people who know you. He says, you got to get more at-bats, and you got to meet with people who don't know you, and then you've got to go out and sell yourself. Don't celebrate closings, celebrate the things that generate the closings. He says that you have to embrace all conversations, that 1 in 5 people in a room will be moving in the next 3 years. So in the next 3 years, just one of those 5 people in every room is going to be moving. So your job is to find out and identify who that one is. The other thing that Cleve does a great job with, and this is another one of our tracking sheets, is this sheet right here. What this does is this tracks, we put our income goal in, the average commission per closing, the number of closings it's going to take to hit our income goal, the agent's average percentage, and then I put in the conversion rates based on the number of listing or buyer appointments that I go on. And then I put in here all of the things, and what this does is it tells me exactly what I have to do in order to be able to hit my goals. I have to go on 3.9 listing presentations, 3.2 buyer presentations. I have to get 2.5 listing agreements signed per month. I have to get 1.9 buyer agency agreements signed. I have to get 2.19 listings under contract every month, and it goes right down the list. So once I put my goals in here, it actually will break it down and tell me exactly what activities that I have to do in order to be able to hit those goals. So let me give you another example of a client. This is Luke Bowman in Michigan, and Luke says, okay, in order for me to hit my income goal, I asked him to break down exactly how many listing appointments he has to go on in order to hit that goal. So, and this is just his listing goal. He's a 7-figure guy, but he has to go on 142 listing appointments, or 12 per month, with a conversion rate of 54%. That's a total of 77 listing contracts, or 7 contracts a month, with a conversion rate of 90% of the ones he actually lists go to transaction. So a total of 70 transactions will generate $180,000 at $5,400 is $378,000 just from his listing inventory. And it gets real interesting when you realize that if you focus on the activities and the numbers, that you know exactly what it's going to take to hit your income goal. And if his income goal is 378 on the listing side, we know by tracking these types of things that we can generate 1.5 buy-side closings for every listing that he generates. So with 70 listings, we get 1.5 times more than that in buyer sides. And now we're on to a business that's very, very successful. The next thing I like to ask is okay, where are your bottlenecks? What are the areas in your business? This is a Cleve Gaddis chart, and Cleve says, okay, so what I like to do at the beginning of each year is I ask myself, where is the process getting stuck? Is it in lead generation? Is it in the conversion process? Am I going on lots of presentations but not getting them to sign contracts? Do I get lots of offers written, but I don't have the ability to get them under contract because of my inability to negotiate? So I look at my business, and by tracking numbers in every one of these areas, I can find out where my bottleneck is, and then I can bust that open by focusing in that area where that bottleneck is. I hope everybody on the call today is understanding a couple of things. First of all, the way that we look at business is very different. We're looking at a business from the perspective of what do we need to know in order to change our behavior so that we can increase our volume? And if you don't track anything, it's really difficult to make these decisions. You don't know what you have to change because you don't know how you got to where you are. So I love to ask these questions. One of my favorite lines is fake work, right? What do you do all day? When you get up every day, what do you do? Are you pretending to be busy and you're faking? I call it fake work. Some people call it Facebook. It's where you come in and you play around online and you're not really doing anything that moves you close to your goals. What are your excuses for failure? And what happens if we stop doing fake work? We learn to delegate and we spend more time doing specific money-making activities. And if there's anything else that I want to share with you today, I've got several other slides, but the one thing I want you to have the big aha on is that right now, today is the day where you can begin a new life. Today is the day you can shed your old skin, which has long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today is the time when we can take it to the next level because you have all the resources available to you to be able to do that. One of the things when we talk about what you should be focusing on is people ask me all the time, when should I consider an assistant? When should I hire a buyer's agent? So let me give you my rule of thumb. The day you get your license is the day you should get an assistant. Because every hour you spend doing non-money-making activities is an hour you steal money from your family. Now, that might feel a little bit harsh, and you might say to me, I can't afford an assistant, I haven't sold any real estate. Hire a client care coordinator. Pay him a per transaction just to handle your transactions when you get it under contract. So that once it goes under contract, somebody else is dealing with all the dates and things associated with that. You can hire an assistant day one. For every 25 leads you're generating in your business, you should add another agent. So if you're generating 100 buyer leads, you should have 4 buyer's agents, and they should be really well trained. If you have if you're generating 100 seller leads, you should have listing partners helping you with those. For every 100 sites you do, you need to add additional people to your admin team. A really good client care coordinator can manage 100 transaction sides. When you get over 100, then we start delegating activities between a transaction coordinator and a listing coordinator, a marketing person, and sometimes inside sales. The focus in your business as the team leader or as the CEO of your company should be prospecting and listings, and everything else should be delegated. If you're generating 250 leads a month, you got to get a buyer's agent, and it would be great to have an appointment setter or someone that's inside sales helping you with that. And I see that there's lots of questions coming in, so Terry, let me know if I need to pause and answer questions. The next thing is you have to dare to delegate. The reason people don't hire an assistant or they don't hire a buyer's agent is because they suffer from nobody can do it as good as me syndrome. I don't delegate because it takes longer to show someone else how to do something rather than it does to do it myself. And that's just really negative self-talk. And if you say it to yourself over and over again, it begins to become a reality, and you'll never be able to let go of those things you shouldn't have ever started doing in the beginning. It's okay to delegate, and I would actually argue that your clients will get a higher level of support when you delegate those tasks to someone who is focused on those tasks and they become an expert at it. Here's an example of what a simple team might look like. We do a team leader, which is you as the agent. Then you add a client care coordinator as your first hire. The client care coordinator does it all. They're your right and left hand. They increase client care. They create an amazing amount of time for you so that you can spend more time prospecting. That client care coordinator is huge. The next thing is buyer's agents, and then we hire a transaction coordinator. That's a simple team. That layout is what a simple team looks like. We can get a lot more complicated. A lot of our teams might look like something like this, where we have an operations person, client care, team couriers, marketing people, buyer's agents, listing partners, and inside sales. There is no right size of a team. It's okay to be an individual agent, but you also have to be okay with the amount of revenue you can generate by yourself. It's okay to be an assistant, to be an agent with just one assistant, and understand what that means. And you want to build a business that allows you to live your lifestyle with the amount of production you want to accomplish. But when you want to start getting into the leagues where you're doing 100 transactions or 200 transactions a year, you have to start thinking about leverage and what it means to really leverage. And the goal isn't to become busier, and it's not just to sell more houses, it's to literally become more profitable. And so we don't want you to just go out there and hire a team and then look back and say, I made more money when I was an individual agent. We actually have, you have to have systems in place. Our philosophy is that you must run your business at a minimum of 50% net profit. That's after paying your expenses, your buyer's agents, your lead generation, everything. And so, how we compensate our buyer's agents and those types of things make a big difference in profitability at the end of the cycle. We have a whole system. So let me just share with you what that looks like really fast. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'll just show you that there's a system. So when we hire a buyer's agent, there's a 14-day onboarding process, a hiring checklist. When we bring them on, all the things they do for the first 14 days is done. Then we have them go through an 8-week program called Buyer Agent Mastery, where they learn daily success habits, business planning, how we follow up with leads, power prospecting, selling different people differently, understanding disc profiles. And of course, they're given all of these assignments and have to turn everything in during the Buyer Agent Mastery program. And that's not for coaching clients. That's something that anybody can participate in. We also have how we compensate our buyer's agents. The next thing people always ask me is, how do you find good people? How do you find the right talent? We're big on the hiring process and using disc profiles. Hey, you remember, Terry, I showed you Christy Buck's business, how she went from $250,000 to $1.6 million this year.
Exactly.
And right, and her best hire was Samantha. Well, this is Samantha's disc. So Christy is a high DI, and she hired a high SC on her DISC profile. She found someone who had strengths that were different from Christy's, and so she was the exact opposite. And Christy says this was her most important hire, so she did the DISC. Oh, by the way, this is Christy's DISC right here. So you can see Christy's DI. Go back to Samantha's, and now you have a high SC. They're exactly opposite. So she hired someone who has strengths where she has weaknesses. Luke Bowman, I showed you his. This is, by the way, this is a team leader who's also a very highly productive, team that hit, he was just a few dollars short of $1 million GCI this year. He's a high SC. So you don't have to be a DI to be a good team leader. We can help anybody be successful. The approach is just different, and understanding and learning how to deal with different people differently. It takes skill and talent and research, and you have to be smart about how you go after that. Sorry, that was a duplication. By the way, anybody want to know what your DISC assessment looks like? You're welcome to use the ones we use with our clients for free. You can just go to workmansuccess.com, click on the free button, and then just take the free DISC, and you're all welcome to use that anytime you want to. We have a lot of people that aren't clients that love the resource because they use it when they're hiring people for their own teams. We're happy to let you do that. The next thing we talked about is I want to talk about the tracking of everything and how we track things at a really high level. This is a client out of Hilton Head, South Carolina. This is an example of how they track the sales volume of each of their agents, but we also track the lead sources and where leads come from. You can see that I have one lead source that's generated over $435,000 in commission this year, and I can see what agent worked it, how many transactions were generated from it, and we know that. The other thing that I love to show is I love this lead source right here. This chart right here shows me all of the different leads that have been generated from all of the different systems, and it tells me how long they were in my system before we actually converted them to a sell. Joe, you'll love this. You tell agents they got to follow up, right? The fastest sell is in 25 days. The average is 392 days, and the longest days that they were in our back office was 2,227 days, and that client bought $1 million house on Hilton Head Island.
Wow. Yeah.
But if you don't track it, you don't know, right? So we track everything. Leads are not the issue. We can generate leads at any level in your business. Don't ever tell me that leads are an issue. The summary for today is this. If you want to get to the place where you're doing 100 transactions a year, start by building a solid business plan with an execution strategy. We use that Agile process. Have 4 pillars of income that you focus on, not just one, and then set your action plan so you can generate 100% of your income in each one of the 4 pillars. Next is stop thinking like a realtor or someone who's creating a job for themselves and start thinking like the CEO of your business and dare to delegate. Next is to track the activities that generate sales and celebrate those. So we're celebrating activities, not just celebrating the sales. Identify the bottlenecks and remove them. I said more than once, that which measured gets done. We track leads, we track conversions, time to responses, so that we can find out where our systems are failing us and we can make adjustments. As a team leader and as a coach, I don't believe we have people problems. I believe we have process problems. And if our people aren't performing at the level we believe they should be, then we have to figure out where our process is failing us. So implement daily success habits, and then when it comes to be the right time, build a team. Build a winning team that allows you to be able to accomplish all of your goals. So I'll pause for a second. What I'm going to give you as a result of being on this call today, if you'll go to workmansuccess.com/new year, I'm going to give you a copy of the Daily Success Habits Tracker, and I'm going to give you my entire business plan that we lay out for all of our agents with the calculations you use to be able to do that. And we'll also give you an invitation to do a free business consult if you'd like to learn, you'd like to have one of my coaches spend 30 minutes with you and help you figure out whether or not we can help you take it to the next level. So Terry, what questions would you like to ask her? Joe, jump in with any questions and let's talk about anything that's come up on the board.
So you go first. As the author, as an author as well, I thought maybe you might have a couple of thoughts on how some of these people could use some of this information.
Well, there's a lot of great materials here. There's no doubt about it that I think Verl hit the nail on the head by basically saying you really need to do more than just saying, hey, I want to make a lot of money last year. I mean, you have to plan your work and work your plan. And you need to be able to keep detailed records and be able to follow some things up so that, just like he's laid out here, so that you can really know what you're shooting for, number one, and also know how you're going to get there. I think an easy analogy that I know I've heard you say before, Verl, is something like you have a destination in sight. You don't just sit there and say, well, I'm just going to get in the car and just kind of drive around and see if I get there. I mean, you map it out on your GPS, and you get there the quickest way possible. And I think that if you go in and you actually plan out where you want to be, and you follow the steps that you laid out here, I really believe there's no reason why you cannot achieve that goal. And I think that everything is laid out here. It's a matter now of, are you going to say, you know what, that sounds great, I'm going to get to that later, or am I going to actually, hey, I want to get more lead sources, so maybe I need to buy some zip codes, or maybe I need to do something to get out there and figure out how I'm going to get more leads coming into my network. So that's a great plan. It's a matter now of putting the plan to action, and hopefully the agents on the line will be able to do that, because there are some great opportunities to take advantage of for 2016.
Well, Verl, you know what happened to one of our coaching clients had not loaded her lead tracker, and she didn't even realize that she had over 32 leads that came in on one weekend. So there was absolutely no way for her in her head to keep track of 32 leads with 3 different levels of intention. So really, starting to track really helps you manage your business.
Well, great stuff. I want to thank everybody for being on the call today. If anybody has any questions or specific things, you can send an email to coach@verlworkman.com. I'll be happy to talk to you. Download the free stuff from the webinar. On behalf of RISMedia, Terri Murphy, thank you for being the host of the webinar today. And Joe, thanks again for your sponsorship and insight and input on today's call as well. It's been very good.
Thank you, Verl. Thank you very much.
Happy holidays, everybody.